How's it going, everybody? DJ K-Dub, Omaha, Wired Axcess podcast with the All Axcess Granted.
I didn't want that to be the standard. I didn't want someone else in the room to set the standard. I always wanted to do that.
The journey to get there, I think, is something, that is amazing, Nick.
Let's get this podcast started.
That's right. It is another Wired Axcess, All Axcess Granted, where we get raw, real, and today we get to talk to someone that just constantly says, I bet on myself. Former Nebraska Preps athlete, Nate Glantz. Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
Man, yeah, as you prepare for, that thing that all young athletes always dream about, they never know the road that it will take to get them there, but you have your college pro day coming up as you're down in Nashville preparing for that. We greatly appreciate you joining us. But I think what I like about your journey, and especially in this crazy day and age where it's not easy for everybody to understand how the college game goes as far as recruits and going to different schools. Sometimes the way to get to where you want to be is not a straight line. We've seen that with so many athletes. But what I like about your story is, one, you left a mark before you left the Nebraska Preps. You were at Millard West and you made a decision to go down to Bellevue West for your senior season. And I'd only like to start there because not everybody, and you probably have seen it or heard about it. I mean, everybody talks about the Millard South team of this year and how all the athletes just, they transported in, but what they didn't understand is 90% of those athletes that are the ones that got recruited all played together on a Pee-wee team in the 8th grade. And I only know because my son was a part of the Battlehawks before they were the Battlehawks because they were this junior Skyhawks team. But people don't see those things. They just see the bottom line. And I'm sure you probably had it when you went from Millard West to Bellevue West. They're like, okay, he's coming in. What was that like for you? I mean, this is pre-COVID, so it's right before COVID hit. What was that like for you making a decision like that for yourself, especially on a position as a quarterback, but also just on your future of what you're looking to achieve?
Yeah, no doubt. I think, as a 17, 18-year-old kid, I didn't realize at the time that was going to be the biggest decision and, moment in my life, changing the course and trajectory of my life, to be honest with you. I think for me, when you grow up with a group of guys and, kind of in a community, you see kind of the same faces competing against each other from Pee-wee football to middle school to high school. And then your whole world changes where you're living, at a teammate's house, you're driving 45 minutes a day to get to your new high school. You're meeting a complete new, not only locker room, but school, a district, a city, an area. And that's just as a 17, 18-year-old kid, you're kind of like, man, we're really doing this. So I think from that standpoint, leaving everything you've ever known, you're leaving your house, because I did. Wasn't able to stay with my parents and my little brother. I wish I could have, but from the travel aspect, it wasn't going to work that way. And so I think kind of growing up at a young age where a lot of guys, that didn't happen for them. So for me, I think it was a blessing in disguise to get that part of it, just to grow up and kind of be on your own in a sense. And then just from the standpoint of going to a completely new place you've never seen, it was truly something that is kind of unexplainable, and going through it, it left a mark on me that I'll always have for sure.
Well, in this day and age, when you look back at that change for you, everybody's reason for the why is different. What was your exact reason, and how did it even come to for a senior season to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think when my whole life, I've just wanted to be a Division I quarterback. That was always the dream. My dad played for the Huskers. We were season ticket holders. I've been going to Nebraska games since I was a little baby. Don't even remember going, and then just kept going. And that was always the dream, and the goal was to get my education paid for, and I wanted to be that guy that was on the TV making plays and playing quarterback position that I've watched my whole entire life growing up. I mean, I was from most kids playing their video games. I didn't play video games growing up. I was just constantly outside. I remember being a first grader trying to play tackle football with all the fifth graders, and they're like, dude, you got to chill. Like, we're not trying to get in trouble. But that's was my mindset, is I just wanted to play football. And I was constantly always just looking to become better at whatever sport during the season it was. I was a multi-sport athlete, so whatever season it got to, but that football was always in my hands, from a little kid. So I think my why for me was just not letting my younger self down, having that dream to be a Division I quarterback and get my education paid for. And then just the family aspect of just trying to make my family proud. That's the biggest thing for me, is you want to set the right example. My younger brother's my best friend. And I think for me, like, he looks up to me, and that's something I'll never take for granted as long as I'm on this earth. It's like, I want to set the example. And, that's kind of, for me, it was getting that college education paid for, making my younger dreams come true, and then just setting the example for all the other kids that would come after me.
Well, and what made Bellevue West right for you guys? What made that decision in that school? What did you guys see that you felt you were going to be able to meet something? And obviously you guys turned it into a school championship that year, not just in football, but then you hit the COVID basketball year. What was that like for you? Why Bellevue West?
I think it was, truthfully, like, everything has for a reason is something I stand by. And I think the Lord puts you in positions that he thinks you can handle. And I think he puts you in places that he knows, like, are right for you. And it was the perfect storm of, a friend wants me to go to a Warren Academy tryout. I was already going to be, people don't know, I wasn't going to play football my senior year anymore. I was just going to focus on basketball. I was a gym head. I loved basketball as well. I loved being a point guard, kind of that floor general, just like quarterback. And when I saw my junior year kind of went the way it was really shaky, and not knowing my future going forward. I wasn't going to play my senior year of football, and I was going to hang up the cleats and focus on basketball. But a friend of mine that went to another school said, hey, dude, like, you're a heck of a quarterback. I want you to come out to this Warren Academy 7-on-7 tryout. And this was the first year that Warren, did this tryout. And so I met Coach Teaglin there. I mean, that's my brother for life now. And so I meet him there, and I signed up for fun and was like, all right, I'll go out there and play and throw the ball around. And, sure enough, I end up beating out a handful of starting quarterbacks at their high schools. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, hold up. I made the team first off. Teaglin comes up to me after, he's like, who do you play for? What are you doing? I was like, well, I'm actually now, I think, going to go into my senior year, I'd be the backup quarterback. And he's like, what? He's like, dude, you gotta keep this going. I was like, well, I just came out here for fun. So I end up making the team. I'm beating all these, high school starters that are about to get ready for their senior season and go on their junior day camps and everything. And, I just beat them all out to make the team and start. And so then I go on my first tournament. We're in Kansas City. I'm with, Marquis Single, who's on the 49ers. I'm with Thomas Fedone, who's on the Giants. I'm with Jay Ducker. I'm with Keegan. Like, I'm with all these guys. And we're playing in our first tournament. And, I just played ball, and I lit it up. And after the game, a dad came up to my dad, said, your son needs to be our quarterback. We have opportunity here. He can't be sitting on the bench. It ended up being Jay Ducker, who was, in my opinion, the best high school running back in Nebraska football history, was my, running back in obviously my senior year. But Dontrell Ducker came up to my dad, and it was kind of this perfect storm of, okay. And then next, Clester Johnson and Dontrell come over. They're like, hey, like, listen, like, we have a team. Like, here's an opportunity for you. Like, you're not going to be the guy at your school. We have a perfect opportunity for you to come. Now, it's not guaranteed. You have to go win that spot for sure. But they saw something that my parents and others had seen in myself, even people at Millard West, but just never getting that true chance to have those keys to the car and just drive it. And so that's honestly a perfect storm of a weird, I think that would have been December or January of 2019, the weirdest January ever, because, I'm playing 7-on-7 indoors. And then I'm going to basketball practice for Millard West because I'm playing point guard there. So I'm sitting here like, okay, well, this is crazy because, you lit it up in 7-on-7 in this random tournament in the spring of 2019. And then these parents are coming up to your dad and your mom telling you, like, we need your son on our team. So that's how it really was for Bell West, because initially it was like, I'm not going to play. It's all of a sudden I might be transferring from my senior year to a whole new place I've never been.
See, in a story like yours, like, every time I do stories, I've been blessed to, record like 150 episodes between all podcasts. And like when everybody goes, I don't know, what's your why? These are the whys. It's not a matter of, okay, yes, this kid transferred. And yes, when he got to college, he made his rounds. Okay. But not every story is what you see on the internet and this big
100%.
blow up. They don't know the backstory. And that's what I love about it, especially in this day and age where everybody's so worried about who transferred, who did what. But if you sit down and take one moment of your time and just listen to the story of this young man here, one, your dad was a Husker. So, of course, the Nebraska N is something you probably have cherished for a long time. Two, you felt like there was not a possibility in that future that was going to hold any Nebraska N or anything. So now you're going to see what hoops is going to do. And obviously, there's a lot of hoops going on, and especially when you look at the age that you graduated with. I mean, a lot of those 2019 to 2022s, those kids are everywhere. Basketball
Could be the best
football.
era, you know.
Dude,
It really
it
could.
is
You could make the
crazy.
argument.
That's why, like, it's hard for me because, of course, my son was playing at that time, so I haven't been able to do this part of the sports. I did the part of dad, and now I get to go back to some of you guys that I remember, and I saw you guys go through some of this, but get the real story. So then when parents are making these hard decisions that they think no other parent's going through it, or if you're an athlete that goes, I have these ambitions, how can I get there? Right place, right time, right in front of people. We all know what Warren Academy is out there doing. There are a lot of former pro athletes along with former Husker athletes that have made it to many levels. And they're trying to enrich these kids with the best that they can with opportunity. Some people like it, some people don't. That's on your own. But what I have seen out of these athletes, if they've all gotten opportunities, you get this 7-on-7, which obviously is something that you're not used to because this is the growth of 7-on-7 is right when Warren Academy started.
The first year,
Things start coming too. Being a quarterback, it could be fun. There's only one quarterback on a team. You might have to switch in, switch out, but there's only one player. It's not like a wide receiver. It's not like a running back. It's not like a lineman. You can find a way. There's one quarterback. So you get through the 7-on-7. When you're around the athletes that you're around, and as you've said, I mean, Siegel's a bang bang Niner gang. That's my boy. Omaha North, up to South Dakota State, down to Kansas State, and then boom, in the league. Playing in a playoff game. Let me say that, starting and playing along with someone like a Luke Gifford out of Lincoln.
Yep.
To have these athletes that you're seeing, what was your way that was telling you besides them that I belong here? How was it going with dad? How was his aspect looking at it? Because it is a whole different level of football and challenging yourself to keep you going in the right direction that you wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think just when you surround yourself by great people and you surround yourself by people that are hardworking and are all going for that main goal, you know, that's like the best people you want to be around. They always say, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And so for me, like, I always just wanted to be competing with the best. I wanted to be playing with the best. I wanted to go against the best. I wanted to be like that, you know, let's compete, let's play, let's do this. And so for me, it's like, okay, if these are all the best guys in the metro area, I want to go start for that team. I want to go be their, I don't even care if it's 7-on-7. I'll go be their quarterback, and we'll go to all these tournaments in Kansas City and all these other places, and we'll compete with their best. So for me, that always was something that I've just always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be in that position where it's like, this is all for real. Like, this is competing, and I just love to compete. Some people call me a psycho about it because I'll find competition in anything. It doesn't matter what it is. So, but that's how you have to be. You know, you have to be wired that way to truly, you know, I know it gets caught up with all the money and stuff nowadays with college football, but like at the end of the day, the love for the game and the competition of playing the game that you grew up loving, that should never go away. So that was something that always inspired me and kept me going. And then just having the opportunity that, you know, Steve Warren and John gave me at Warren Academy, it's even, you know, obviously I had to go out and perform and make the roster and back in, you know, 2019, but they saw something in me. Parents saw something in me. I think it's just always knowing that I always knew it was there and I'd seen it myself. I'd seen myself do it before multiple times. You need the opportunity. And that's something that wasn't obviously at the time presenting itself. So I decided it was the bet on the self and go to that opportunity that is presenting itself, because, you know, at the end of the day, that's why you're doing it, is for that reason.
And when you transfer, when did that final decision happen for you in that 2019 season? You, like you said, you're still being that mindset of I am the point guard for my
Yeah.
boys here at Millard West. When did you finally make that decision for yourself?
Yeah, that was for sure one of the hardest times. Because crazy enough, the head football coach for my high school team was also my gym teacher. So I had to let everybody know and then still go to school for a whole month. So that wasn't that was pretty hard. You got people that you thought were your friends, thought you were brothers, had your back, teachers, coaches. And then it's pretty cool to see, grown men act like children. It's kind of, it opens your eyes where you're like, man, this is kind of interesting. Like I thought they would have my back. I'm just trying to do what's best for me. Like they'd understand, right? But then you kind of see the true colors of people. So for me, it was kind of coming down. We finished our 7-on-7 season. I realized, like, man, I still love this football thing. Like these footballs back here, like they're attached to my hands. Like it isn't going away. Like that love is still there. And you start playing against that competition. You're having fun and you're having success. And it's 7-on-7. I get it, but like that gave you that love for the game again. In Nebraska, we don't get to play spring ball, so it's pretty cool. Like having that opportunity to play some spring ball, even though it's 7-on-7. And so I decided to make that decision on Easter Day. I felt like going to church, praying with my family about it. Like that was the decision. And I went to school the next week. I let everybody know. I let my coaches know first, and then the stories can go on from there about, you have to walk into that school and go and for a whole month and finish that. And so I made the decision. And then after school, that last month of the school year, I was driving to Bellevue to throw at the stadium, and then actually would go in with Coach Woodard and run some 5-on-5 and basketball and just kind of getting acclimated and learning my new teammates and future classmates. And so it was the craziest, I guess, last month of my time at Millard West, because everybody knows I'm leaving, and then I'm still from there. I'm driving to Bellevue West after school, to 45 minutes after school, and getting acclimated to all that. So it was kind of the right timing, and also a really hard decision though, because you're just a 17, 18-year-old kid having to make these decisions. And I think that's why I gave credit to my parents so much, is they believed in me so much that they're like, this is your decision, like we believe in you, do what's right in your heart. And I think truly on that Easter weekend, like it just felt like the calling, like the Lord was calling me to something greater, calling to me to my purpose, my why, to step outside that comfort zone and get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think starting, I'm 23 now, but I feel like I turned into a man at 17 because of those decisions that I was making.
Yeah.
And I think kind of seeing the true colors of a lot of your classmates that you grew up your whole life with, and seeing that they don't have your back and they don't want the best for you, but then seeing the people that did, and that's the ones that you ride with till, the end. And I think that was really good for me.
Now, if there was a classmate or a teammate that even stuck with you through the ride, knowing that you were doing the best, what'd they say to you, and how were they able to impact you? And if you want to shout out their name, you're more than welcome. But there's for sure someone at your old school that made sure that they understood the process and they understood what you're looking to accomplish more than it is what we're accomplishing.
No doubt. And, to me, it will be tough because he won't be my best man at my wedding. It will be my brother, and they can argue about that. But, two-time national championship, two-time All-American. He's now currently on the Saints. Dallas Beanham. I mean, that was still my best friend to this day, since childhood. And and he was my first ever receiver I hit for a touchdown in high school. I mean, we played Omaha North on Thursday night my junior year, threw 2 touchdowns to him. I mean, I'm thinking like this is the greatest thing ever. And that dude right there, I mean, he'll be my brother for life. I mean, he's already family. I don't even look at him as like more of a friend. Like that's just like, it's something that there's so many times where he just told me like, keep going, keep going. And then when that opportunity presented itself, he was the first one to be like, dude, go, like you need to do this for you. Like you need to do this. And so he knew what I was capable of. He knew what he'd seen. A lot of other people have too, but that's the one guy that's my dog. So he's killing it. He's
and
doing
where's he at? Say it again. Let's say it. Where's he at?
New Orleans Saints. Yes, sir.
Right. That's
so,
right.
Yeah.
Another prep in the NFL. And
yes,
it's
sir.
weird how they respect decisions that are beyond the basic, right?
Amen.
This isn't just a, hey, you're upset or you're mad at coach. Or no, you got someone that's showing that, one, they care, two, that they have confidence in that you could be that guy. That's where it has to start as coaches. If you're not feeding your kids confidence and they find confidence elsewhere, unfortunately, that's only the fault of coaching. That is what it is. And I can say it because I coached for 8 years at high school. Your players are only as confident as you can help them and make them and be further. So I appreciate that strong word right there, because like people don't understand, like that is exactly why Noah Fant came to Omaha South. He didn't come for championships. He knew his opportunity. And if he would have never made it, would he be in the NFL? Sure. He would have an opportunity. But would it be as a tight end? Would it be what he wanted? Now you get to do what you're wanting to do. You made it. You go to Bellevue West. What do you remember about even that locker room? Because, of course, you had a lot of tenured players that were already there. What was kind of your first stepping into that realm?
Yeah, it was early. I mean, I think my other family is, the Duckers, Jay, Micah, and Dontrell. They took me in right away, and I ended up moving in with them, living with them. And because, the summer workouts, I don't want to drive 50 minutes back home, so I would, that whole summer and start of the school year, I was living with them. And so for me, like what they've done for me and my family it's unexplainable, giving me that chance to instill the confidence, but not only that, but then saying like, hey, we need you here. We know what you're capable of. Like, that's crazy to take a shot on just a kid that you just seen, throw a couple touchdowns. You're like, dude, like, we need you. Like, you need to come here. And then for them to open arms and open their house to me and let me live there and be with them and feel like a part of their family. And I mean, Jay and Micah just did such an amazing job instilling the team bonding aspect of like, hey guys, we have this new quarterback in. They also don't even know if I'm worth anything. Like, I could go in there and throw 10 picks on the first day, and they're like, why are we wasting our time with this guy? So like, for me,
you got that up, because I was gonna say, like, there is good at 7-on-7, and there's just
exactly
a dog baller. I mean,
exactly
there's one or the other. It doesn't always go in the same. So of course, you go out to Bellevue West, you show them that you're a dog. When you think of like what Coach Huffman and all them have going on there, you got a lot of athletes that had opportunities and got opportunities and took advantage of opportunities. How much of that was just the crew themselves, and how much was that of coaching? Because I think and I don't mean it in a bad way, but a lot of parents think that coaches do it all. You as a collective group have to push each other. And I think you guys, and I could be wrong, but I felt like you guys were so player led on that group that it's just that special.
I mean, like I said, Jay, we came in and it was from the get-go. They got this new kid and we started these team bondings, and Jack McDonald had this nice lake house. He was our all-state linebacker, head hitter, would knock you out. He had this lake house. We'd have team bondings. We'd all go hang out. I'm still meeting, making sure I know everybody's name, all this stuff right before, you get into the school year. And then you get into the football, and it's like, I mean, there's no two better guys that I know for coaching it than Huffman and Pekorski. You got the Hogs up front with Pekorski, and then you got the Minds with Huffman. And I think for them to take me in, still, like, I have to prove myself, but like what they've done for me and my family, again, I mean, I go to their annual golf tournament. I try to every time I can every year. I go to Huffman's just to hang out. I try to hang out with Pekorski and him at this, like, just whether that's going out with my dad to get some food or hanging out and staying in touch with the text messages, because those two guys were like father figures to me. Being away from home and going over there and having those two, pour into me. I mean, every single period, I had my first period off, so I'd show up to school an hour early and I'd just meet with Huffman, whether we were talking football, life, or anything. Like, that's truly somebody that I'll call a father figure, because what he did and the situations that he put me in, I'll never be able to repay him for that. So I'm so thankful from that aspect. And I think when you talk about the player-led aspect, I mean, you had a group of seniors that had, I believe the freshmen won a state title their first year, and then the next 2 years, I believe they went to the semis at least. So they knew what winning took. They knew what a true team culture was. And I think that was so cool for me to get instilled in that the whole off season, even if it was just the summer and the early fall, because it was quick, things were moving fast from leaving Millard West to go there. But then the player led, I mean, there's so many guys that stepped up, and just, we really were that player-led team. And I think it made it that much easier for the coaches to do their jobs and not have to worry about any off the field issues, any locker room issues, like we all truly had each other's back. And I think today we still have a group chat, we all text in, and it's like those are the little things that go so far that people don't understand, is like you truly got to have that brother's back off the field, on the field. And I think that just made it for the coaches that much easier. And I mean, it really turned into a perfect, story that you really don't see very much often anymore.
No, and then of course you turn it into a basketball COVID championship with the boys, and now you're seeing what Chucky's out there doing.
Yep.
You got. I mean, I've interviewed twice. He was my old neighbor, good old Will
He's the
Kyle
best,
III.
man.
No layups. Will Kyle out there for Syracuse.
Let's go.
You see all those boys just continue to live your dream. Now, your recruiting though had to have been probably the hardest, right? With
Yeah.
this change, because you weren't like you could do the 7-on-7, but coaches for college aren't always out there, or the ones that want, that you're looking for are always out there. How did the recruiting process go for you when it came to high school?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be point blank period. Quarterback's got to be the hardest position to recruit, because from a standpoint of you have to have film as a junior. So then your junior summer and off season, you can go on all the camps and all the like junior visits so that you kind of get ready for your senior year. For me, I started the first 4 games of my junior year, switched around positions. Obviously, the famous story, I was told I wasn't a quarterback, and kind of my junior year got all messed up. So then I don't have much junior year film, and I'm going into my senior year. And then it's like, who's this kid? You're a first team all Nebraska, 13-0, state champion, all that stuff. And then they're sitting there, the film's there, but they're like, well, this is weird. So that's when it's like those walk-ons start coming, like, well, yeah, we like what we see, but we're going to just give you a walk-on for now, and we'll kind of like go from there. And for me, I'm like, man, like I want to get my education paid for. Like, I know my worth. I know, like, truly at the core of my heart, like, what I'm worth and who I am and the playmaker I am. And when I'm out there and I see all these other guys getting these offers, they say comparison is the thief of joy for sure. But man, comparison it can hunger you, and it can make you want more, and it can push you and drive you harder, because you see all these quarterbacks out there getting what you feel like you deserve. So what do? You just put your head down, you keep working. You're like, all right, that's awesome. So that's what I did. And I think finally having that opportunity that Coach Strohmeyer and all my guys at Iowa Western gave me, I mean, that's something that I'll never take for granted, because all it takes is one. And I think that's what people forget, is all of it looks pretty when you can stack all these offers and all these glamour of official visits and everything. But at the end of the day, like, you just need one staff and one person to truly believe in you. And that's where you jump that opportunity. It's not about the flicks on the Instagram and the official visits and the NIL money and stacking, tweeting out a million offers. All of that is cool, don't get me wrong. That's the new wave. But at the end of the day, you need a staff that is going to die for you. That's going to go out there and, like, that's my guy. And that's what Stroh was for me, giving me that chance and understanding, like, man, we got this blue-collar guy that will go on that field and run through somebody and die on the field for his teammates. Like, and so I think for me, like, the recruiting in that aspect and how it going through all that success on the football field and still waiting, you're like, man, what's happening? But then you're just trusting God's timing, and you understand, like, that was the perfect timing, was that opportunity in Council Bluffs. That's all I needed.
Well, you think about your walk-on offers. What was that like for you going through that talk? I'm not sure. Was your dad a walk-on for Nebraska when he
Yes,
first
he
came?
was part of the walk-on.
That's what I thought. So then when you think of his journey and you think of him being a walk-on and that being an opportunity, where did you separate yourself to? I trust me, I would love to live and do what dad did, but I know what I want and I know different. And that's probably a hard decision to make, because I mean, I know I had AJ Forbes on my podcast as well, and like I think one of the hardest things talking to him, and this is what I love about what I get to do, is because there are so many people that'll talk stats, talk this, but when I got to break down the real AJ Forbes and just in the right way and let him stress and talk about his feeling that first time leaving Nebraska when he was no longer going to be there, and having that talk after his walk-on season, and thinking of all the emotions that happened for him. And then he goes off to Montana and just has a career out there, like those are the things that I even wonder for yourself. Like, was that ever a part of your journey that you thought could have been?
I think that was the hardest part for me, for sure, because I'm a senior. I just won state in football, and we're having a great season in basketball. And Frost is obviously at the time was the coach. He's interested, and they're talking about it being potentially a walk on. And I'm sitting there, and I got to that point where it was so frustrating in the recruiting, and like you felt like you proved yourself, and like, man, what I just did, like inserting myself, having to learn a whole new offense and a whole new team, and the grind of just even, and then going 13-0 and performing and all these things, and you're just like where's the offers, like what's happening? But then it got to the point where Nebraska was going to give me the walk on, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, do I just take this? Like, do I just say, like, I'm gonna bet on myself even more? I'm gonna walk on to Nebraska. I'm gonna go there and start. And I had to have that moment of like, or do you want to bet on yourself and go JUCO? And so it was a weird conflict because the opportunity was there. And I'm a senior in high school, and you're gonna stay home. You're gonna be close to family. You're going to your dad's alma mater. You just want a state title in that stadium. Like, how cool is this? But I think part of me just knew, like, I felt like I was just worth more. And so that's why ultimately it led to me just betting on myself and going the JUCO route.
And of course, we just had on our last episode of All Axcess Granted, we had Malachi Marshall, their quarterback that just won it this year, who made that decision for JUCO from a FBS school. When you make that decision for JUCO, what was some of the experience that you had to know that this could be a possibility for you to be the right decision?
Yeah, I went on the visit there, and you see the facilities, and it's close to home. And I mean, for that reason, like, that's huge for me. And then obviously just trusting, the journey of the quarterbacks, having Luke Waters and Jake Waters, the brothers, Luke I played with, and obviously Jake, quarterback there, and then goes to Kansas State. And they let you know, like, man, like he reminds you a lot of, you guys compare together, and then you're sitting there like, okay, I think trusting like the history and the success that Stro and all those guys have had, and then understanding like you're getting, your college paid for, and this is something where you've done it just this past year. Like, you can do this again. You can have people like doubt, make fun, say whatever they want, like, oh, he did all that, he's going JUCO. That's funny. Like, he won't make it out. And you're kind of like, that's like that feeds you. You're like that gives you that hunger. And I think for me it was like, I like that. Like, I want to continue, because that was Stroh's message. He's like, man, like, what you did this past year is like, we know you're the guy. Like, you can bet on yourself. Like, you've been doing it. And I think that was kind of like all I really needed was, man, I know I can do this. I know I can come here, light it up, and get all those opportunities and keep proving everybody wrong, because they could say it's a fluke, and they could say, oh, he went to a great team that was stacked and everything and all these things. But it's like, at the end of the day, I still had to make the throws, still had to make the checks, still had to make the calls, still had to learn the offense, still had to do my job, So it's like, it sounds good, but then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, that kind of fed me more with like, all right, I'll keep just proving everybody wrong. Let them doubt,
That's what I tell everybody. Like, even with the Miller South, I'm like, they still got to play the game and put it together. But yes, are they coincide? I mean, I've shared it time and time again. That defense was the craziest movement and sync defense that I've ever seen, and it was well over a college level. And when you got people or a team that can play those types of levels, it don't matter where they came from or who got who. They put it together just as you did for that championship. And then basketball, you put it together with your team in a still one of the awkwardest years of everybody's life. What do you remember about that COVID year for you going into that summer? Obviously, things aren't even. They're not where you don't even know what's going to happen for football. How did that kind of go for you into that COVID year?
Yeah, because we moved in, right after the 4th of July. In the first 2 weeks there, we only came out of our room to go to the meals and back. So then it was really weird. And then finally, like, they started opening up more. They're letting us practice. We got to practice 2 groups, did that stuff. And I think we were about a week into fall camp when they let us know, like, there's not going to be a season for us this year. And so I'm sitting there like, man, like, this is tough. But I think, like I've always said, like, everything happens for a reason. Like, it's all God's timing, because I think having that develop year or half a year in the fall to learn the playbook, learn the system, gain muscle in the weight room, kind of get more into my body, and then have like what people could say never happened again, playing 2 full seasons in 2021, with the spring and then the fall. it was just such a weird summer and transition where you're getting ready and you're practicing, but you're not going to have a season in the fall. And you have to put your mind that it's spring ball. And it's like the weirdest thing because you're going home, you're watching all these Big Ten games, you're watching SEC games, you're seeing all these college teams playing, but then you're going to spring ball in the mornings and you're just like, it was really weird. But I think that experience and that bonding with all of those JUCO guys, like from all different aspects of the country, coming together, bonding, hanging out in the dorms and all this stuff, watching games, learning the playbook and like checks and different things and talking through stuff. Like that was something that I always remember. And there are so many fun times and so many guys to this day that will be my brothers for life at JUCO.
Well, when you think about that Iowa Western team, you probably also had some athletes that were on the other side, right? Like they might have thought that was their last chance. How was that going through some of those teammates that, you guys had to make the best of what you could, but it was some of their last opportunity?
Yeah. I think that was really sad too, because a lot of those guys needed that fall season. That was what they were waiting for. A lot of them were there the whole spring. While I was playing basketball in my high school, those guys were grinding spring ball at Iowa Western. I think you have to all put in perspective of like, man, like that's something that you wouldn't wish on anyone. Those guys came there in the spring, they grinded out, then they get COVID hits, but they still come back. They're grinding every day of the summer. And then about right when the season's about to get ready, their season's canceled. They don't have that end of the season. So now they're sitting there like, crap, like I don't have another year. That's gone. I have to go to a school. I have to commit. So we lost a lot of our guys because they just ended up taking their first or only offers because they didn't know what was going to happen. Now we eventually find out that we did get that spring season, but we kind of did find out a little late. So for a lot of those guys, thankfully they got that opportunity to play in that spring and get the film to get out. And then thankfully the other guys that had the offers at the time, they felt it was smart, which I think at the time it was because nobody knew. And they took those offers and they went up and committed to their schools. So it definitely was a lot of conversations with a lot of people. Obviously me, I knew I was staying, I was going to get ready for the spring, whether we play or don't play. But just getting to see that perspective of how quick this game can go away. I mean, we always say like you're just one snap away, but in that moment they weren't even a snap; they were just life and something that was completely out of their control. Of they're grinding for one opportunity. A lot of those guys living in their cars, a lot of those guys just trying to put food on the table, and they know that this fall season's everything to them. In a blink of an eye, all that they worked for their whole life they don't even get. So it was good that eventually all those guys did get that opportunity and chance.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy what COVID did at different levels and a lot of the stuff that is obviously not recorded or seen or heard, right? Or the conversations just kind of go a blur. You look at your season that you did get to play with Iowa Western, you guys get second place runner up. What do you remember about your first time starting for them and how did you feel going into that you felt some similar confidence to what you had in high school?
Yeah, so I think for me, fall camp, I tore it up and I was like, man, like this is good because I'm playing against like guys that are, now there's the guys on our defense I was going up against that are in the NFL. And they we're all like a bunch of SEC dudes that were about to go to the SEC school. And I'm sitting here as this, 17-year-old from Nebraska. Like I got some swagger. I just won state championship. And then I see these guys. I'm like, all right, I got to lock in. So I started having that success. And then obviously January and February, we had, kind of like a preseason get ready. And, I was named the starter as a true freshman and I just turned 18. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm like, let's go. And we went, the first game, threw for 4 touchdowns and just felt really good. And then that team that we lost to by 1 point, we ended up winning out the rest of the spring. They go to the national championship. We felt like we were right there. And so a lot of those guys, felt like, man, we have something special here. Let's make a run at it. I had a ton of offers that I turned down and decided to once again, I made a risky decision. I was like, I'm going to bet on myself again. I'm going to go back for another year at JUCO when I could have just left. Obviously I was the Heisman and All-American, all this stuff, and I was getting ready for the fall season. And so it was a big risk. I think it kind of got to that point where I saw what we had. I saw coming back. I saw how much I enjoyed this team and the community and everything. And yeah, it was tough because you win your first 10 games of the season and then you lose your only game you lose is in the national championship. I think that was for sure very humbling and very hard, but just the journey of playing, you know, shoot 22 games or whatever it was in a calendar year and only losing two of them and having just so many relationships you made along the way. You know, if I would have decided to go and committed to a school and got ready for the fall of 21, and I would have never had all those connections and relationships and memories and moments that I made on that national championship run in the fall of 21. And I think truly, like, that's why I've been saying everything happens for a reason, because it was a big decision for me to come back. But even my parents didn't want me. They're like, man, what? You have your opportunity right here. Go take it. Like, this is what you
You've been
wanted.
asking for these.
Exactly. And I just feel something special here. Like, I just felt. And so I don't have any regrets in the world making that decision, having the season I have, having the national championship run. It didn't end the way it obviously none of us, wanted to, but you just have that perspective of like, man, it all happens for a reason. Like, we're so blessed to even be playing this game, to be in this position, like to even get this far. And I think that's sometimes you forget. It's like, I'm not even supposed to be here. And now I'm in the national championship of a JUCO game on live television. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not even supposed to be playing football. So
I
that's
was
kind
gonna
of
say,
like
I think you
perspective.
forgot that 2 years ago you were saying, I'm hanging up those
2 years ago, I'm sitting on the couch watching basketball, like, all right, football's
cleats.
over. 2 years later, you're the JUCO Heisman in the national championship, and it's like, you're like, what's like, that's how life can come at you fast. But I think you have to have that gratitude and that, just understand, like, man, the Lord put you there because he knows you can handle it. But he got you there, and you just have to be grateful. Even in the losses, it's not a loss, it's just a lesson. And you can build on it. Don't let that loss take you down. It's like, no, like, that was a lesson, and I brought it with me the rest of my life now. And I think that was probably another thing that happened to me that could have been the best thing for me, because you get in that success and that flow state of just having all the success,
When
you
things
just
get hard, you don't know what you're gonna do.
exactly. And I think that's kind of, you just expect it, and you're like, you get a little bit cocky and you get that ego. And I think getting humbled and losing in that national championship, some would say this is crazy, but it's like, I think that could have been the best thing for me, because it was like, man, like,
At the time, yeah.
exactly. That's all about the perspective, and like, just understand, like, man, how grateful am I, like, having those opportunities to continue, my education and playing football at another level. You lose the natty, but it's like, man, I still have offers and I'm still playing this game. I'm healthy, I'm blessed. So it was a
How are
lot of
those
emotions.
how does the offers go in JUCO now? What should some athletes that are going the JUCO route understand how the process goes? And not saying it hasn't changed, so don't hold him to the book or the Bible for this. He's just talking about his experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough because personally, I think you need to have that spring ball at your school. I think if you're going JUCO and it's quick turnaround, like, you may go far, you may not, but like, I think it's best to get into that locker room as quick as possible. Get into that coaching staff as quick as possible. Learn everybody on your teammates' names, learn the offense, learn the system, no matter what position you play. Get familiar with the facilities, the area, because I think if you go back and you maybe chill and hang out and do school, and then you wait to go to your school in the summer, I think sometimes that can hurt, because that's when, well, you're not there. Other guys are making those plays. Other guys are making those relationships and having those conversations, and you're kind of going to be a little bit behind the eight ball. Now, yes, talent helps for sure, but specifically quarterback, from experience, I know, like, you have to be early, and that's why I'm happy for Jet that he got there. Like, you need that experience. Like, you have to get in, and that's something that you'll start seeing more and more of these high schoolers and JUCO guys, is they'll get in for that spring. And now, obviously, with the portal, there is no portal after the spring ball. So, like, once you go there, you are there until the end of the next season. So that's obviously a new rule that just changed. So for me, it was no matter what, I was already done at Iowa Western in the fall. So I for sure was already going to go to my next school in the spring. And that's personally how I would do it. I think, development, being in the weight room, being on a meal plan, all of those little things like that make huge, 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 strides and improvements to your game on the field. Like, that's a big thing. And that's personally my opinion on that. Just getting in there as early as possible, because relationships matter.
Well, and of course, you decide to go to Iowa State. You go to Iowa State. What's that for you? How is that part of your journey a key to this cog for you to get to the NFL?
I think that for sure was the most important year of development. Humble, just understand, like, hey, like, you got to earn it. You got to work hard. Obviously that was my redshirt year, and I'm coming off of playing 20-something games. My body it's a little beat up. I get right into spring ball. We're going. You got 5 a.m. wake up for mat drills and all these things. And 3 weeks ago I was in the national championship. Life comes at you fast. You're at a mat drill getting screamed at 5 a.m. in the morning. Like, it gets real. But I truly think like that was 2022 for me was the best year because, I go there and I have the expectation like, man, when you look at the roster, I had the most college playing experience, and so I was like, I have all the confidence and belief that I'll go in there, I'll do my job, I'll win the starting job and everything. But that's just not how things go. And I think that for me was the best thing possible of understanding like, hey, it's God's timing. Like, you're gonna sit this year, you're gonna learn, you're gonna develop, you're gonna get better. What are you gonna do on your off time? What are you gonna do the little things? Are you gonna stick to that plan of being the best possible version of yourself, or are you going to get sidetracked by all the other crap that's out there? So I think for me, it was so good to just hone in on my game, my footwork, my body, my mind, mental. And then obviously, the coaching staff had some changes where it's like, it happens, that's college football. There's going to be continuous recycling of players and coaches. And I think losing my OC and QB coach that recruited me there was not what I expected my first year there. And so that ultimately what led me back to the portal. And I think if you look, a lot of guys ended up going to the portal, especially in the QB room. And that's just part of it. And that's not what I expected, but you got to adapt or die. And so like that.
Do you think like this, now with the transfer portal being a big thing, that this stuff was something that was going on? It's just, it wasn't as loud as it is now, right? Like, your example is exactly a reason why a good decision is best for them, because not everybody. I've had JoJo Doman who had to try out for 3 different defensive coordinators. Go try that on for size.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, and especially at a position at a quarterback. Again, how many starters do you get? You get one.
Get one.
You don't have a will linebacker, a strong linebacker, and possibly the Sam coming down. You don't have that option. It's 1 and 1. So you obviously move on for there to McNeese State. What do you think was very important for yourself to learn at the McNeese State level and getting that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're coming off of a successful 2021 year, and then you don't get to play for a year. I just wanted to play. I didn't care about the logo or whatever. Like, I just wanted to play. And I think for me, what was so good about that year is just battling adversity. I mean, I played pretty much with almost a broken ankle when I shouldn't have. And I think that's what kind of set me back that year is maybe I should have listened to that, hey, I know I'm like that guy that, I'll go in there as a team captain. I'll be like, guys, I'm going to die on the field for you for sure. But I think at the end of the day, you got to know your body. And I think that's something that I learned really quickly is you have to know when to maybe take it easy, and maybe you can't play this week like as much as you're. And I know I'm just not built that way. I'd rather just go out there and just leave it all out there. And that's eventually what happened that 2023 season. And I think just learning from that and that adversity and handling that. And then, when you're so used to winning for 2 seasons and then you go to McNeese and you're not winning, it gets very frustrating. You start seeing different perspectives that you really haven't seen in a while, of how people are handling losses, the culture in the building, those things that, people doesn't want to talk about that side of football. Because every year, we always look at the teams with the good records, but every year there's the teams that are going to have those bad records because winning is hard. Like, winning on Saturdays or Sundays or any day is hard. And so I think for me, I learned so much that year as a guy who from Omaha, Nebraska moves 18 hours away to Lake Charles, Louisiana. And, I'm an Omaha, Nebraska kid in Louisiana, get named a captain as soon as I get there. I win the locker room over. Those are still love all those guys. And I think just growing and being out of your comfort zone. And then from that aspect, just learning how to handle adversity, how to handle losing, how to prepare and just continue to keep going even when things are going to get hard. That was a big thing that I learned that 2023 year. And then obviously as, I ended up transferring that next spring. For me, the main reasons were just seeing the situation. And it was hard. You're a quarterback, you're the captain, and guys look up to you, and you're supposed to be like, hey, we're good. Like, everything's good. But I think you get to a point where you can kind of see the big picture. You can see those little things behind the scenes that nobody else is seeing, whether that's coaches fighting players, players fighting coaches, some crazy incidents I've seen. You know, I saw a coach throw steaming hot coffee at another coach right before a workout. I mean, there's those things where that's not where
Frustration at a whole nother high that people forget
that
about.
people don't see. And for me in that position, like my family, like seeing them knowing what I'm going through, and you know, I love my mom to death, and her knowing like that's not the environment she wants her son in, and seeing all that, and it really was a hard decision. And you're coming off of an injury of your, you know, both your ankles almost breaking, and you're getting in. And I think for me, and seeing the changes in the coaching staff, and you know, having a new OC again, you know, it would have been my 5th new OC in 5 years, you know, because every year, you know, I kept getting a new OC and learning a new offense. I just felt like I needed to get closer to home. I needed to be in a position that I felt best suited me as a football player and a person, just leading me into the man I want to be going forward. I just didn't truly, with all respect, felt like the staff that isn't there now, because they obviously ended up getting fired the next year, which, you know, hindsight's 2020, everything happens for a reason. I just felt like for me it was best decision, and you know, I ended up making that transition to Lindenwood after that.
And what did you see in Lindenwood? Of course, you know, for those that are around here that know football, and those that don't, we'll let you know. Of course, they have one of the biggest prospect camps in the whole United States. They have a lot of colleges that they bring out. It's one of the, you know, but there it's you better take advantage of every rep, because there is a lot of kids that go there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
what did you see in Lindenwood that made you feel this is where you wanted to finish your college career at?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story because when I was getting in the portal and all these bigger schools are hitting me up, you know, I wasn't following any of the Lindenwood coaches, and they always give me crap for of like they just kept having to refollow me, and they were like, dude, like we were just waiting for you to follow us back. Like, because yeah, like my mindset was like, man, I'm Lee McNeese. I want to either go to a top tier FCS or maybe a group of 5, one of those. And I had a lot of those opportunities, but it was the weirdest thing is, you know, when you're coming back down from Louisiana, you're going to drive right through Lindenwood to get to Omaha. So they're hitting me up, and finally one of them somehow got my number and was like, "Man, like we just want you to come rolling by." And not even from an ego thing. I was just like, I didn't even really realize that they had gone up to D1. Like they were at D2, and I knew about the mega camp because my best friend Dallas, he went there right before our senior year and pulled 8 offers. I was playing basketball, so I wasn't even. I probably should have been there. Hindsight 2020, you know, who knows? But I literally was just like getting all my you know visits scheduled to bigger schools, and I was like, Dad, this team, like they just fine. We'll roll through, and sure enough, we roll through, and I mean, I think I got to that point where I wanted to be closer at home, number one, and you know, it was only 5 hours away. And I also I wanted a real staff that I could go and just play for 2 years and have fun, find that joy again, because that's what I lost in 23. You know, I stopped having fun, I stopped enjoying it. And that was something I wanted to find again. And I got healthy. I felt I was in the best shape of my life. You know, from January to March, that whole, you know, 24 year, I dialed in, was, you know, I completely with my meal plan and everything. And I was in the best shape of my life, felt amazing. My ankles are finally healed. And I just felt like it was right. And obviously, as we're driving through, I said, okay, we'll visit. And I mean, from a visit standpoint, completely blew me away. I mean, people don't understand, like those facilities there are better than some Power 4. It was crazy. And so that's why they have that mega camp there, honestly. Seeing the facilities, but then just meeting the coaching staff and more of their message to me of just understand, like, you come here, like you're our guy, like you can play football, have that fun, and ultimately build your relationship with Christ. And I think for me, as I got to that, I was like, I just want to be more than just a football player. I want to have my identity in more than just being a football player, because at the end of the day, you're going to hang those cleats up one day and you have to fall back. And I'd rather fall back on my identity with Christ than being, you know, forgetting or losing myself. And I think them really understand, like, we can give you that relationship with Christ here. Like, that's what we have. And we have that football and everything. And it kind of like blew me away, where I was like, man, like, it's not about the logo or the money or the whatever, the athletic gear they give you, all those things. Like, it's about relationships, about building a relationship with Christ. It's about finding yourself for who you really are. And I think once again, getting back to that, just loving the game again. That's what I've been doing this for. That's why I left Millard West, was I love the game so much. I want to give myself that opportunity to play. So I ended up, that week I had all these visits scheduled to much bigger schools, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, it just doesn't feel right,
Especially with your current way that you've kind of feel through each place.
Yeah,
You know when you know, and
exactly.
you feel it. And obviously, at the hindsight afterwards is, like you said, where did it take me on this journey?
Exactly.
Was McNeese State a terrible thing? No, it was an experience that showed you what you really want or don't
Exactly.
want. And of course, you get to Lindenwood, you guys, do some great things to prepare yourself for your journey as getting ready for that NFL draft. When you look at all these steps and you think of all the things that you've learned, how do you think this also compare to those that do get into the NFL where time is shorter? Of course, you see quarterbacks that get some time with teams, but some of these leashes are short. So if it's kind of like that double-edged sword where you have the experience of being able to go through different OCs if that's what happens, but it's also on the flip side of, okay, I have a lot of different lingo that I could also use for myself that I see that we're utilizing. How do you think that all this journey has kind of helped you prepare for what you're looking to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say just for life in general as well. I mean, just adapting to different cultures, different environments, all those things. Obviously, learning 4 different offenses while being in college, kind of just going through that, learning a whole new locker room, all of those things, and then seeing that in the NFL. It may be National Football League, but we call it not for long. That's really what it is. The average year is 2.3 years in the NFL for these guys. I mean, half of them don't even make it to their second contract. So it really is something. And then let alone the quarterback position is the hardest position. There's only 96 spots, I believe. With now they're even dumbing it down where some teams can't even have 3. So I think this whole entire journey has just gave me that perspective of, man, like your opportunity might be that quick and that slim, and you have to jump on it as soon as possible. Because I could have took and threw Lindenwood and be like, man, no one even knows who they are. Who are those? Like, I'm gonna go to all these big time schools that have been hitting me up and go on those visits. Okay, you go there and sit for 2 years. Now what? You have no film. You did nothing. You regressed throughout your college career. Whereas it was, okay, I'm gonna go to Lindenwood. I'm gonna improve each year, have a ton of fun, make a ton of relationships. It's not even about the stats or any of that stuff. Nobody even remembers that stuff.
That's why. That's what people don't understand.
They don't remember the stuff
here.
Exactly.
We don't talk that. We talk about how the real life experience
exactly
you're getting out of this, and you did a great job of saying it's beyond the game preparation. Because
exactly.
if you don't go through adversity right now, when you get to the real world, and I even said it with my own kids, if you think that I just love who I work for at all times, you're just coming out of nowhere right there with that. There are things that I don't like, but I know what I can control and what I can't control. And I can control how I go in every day and just push myself. So it's that message right there of just knowing that this is going to get it. So when I do hit that real world, the real world has already hit me multiple times and I've already made it through it, because you have to see things like the situations of some of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And some of the movement of athletes, even in high school level, that have not all thought of it this way. They thought of it about the name on their chest or the championship that was 2-3 years ago that doesn't come back just because you went there.
100%. I think that was the biggest thing for me, is like those stats and all those things and the championships and the All-Americans and all these things, like that fades away. But people remember the type of person you were each and every day, your attitude, your effort. Were you a person that, they truly were like, man, that's a good guy. Like, that's somebody that he's faith driven. He truly believes and makes the people around him better. I think for me, that's what I always try to instill myself on. And my parents, I mean, I love them to death. They did such a great job of that for me, is just being in that room and you're the new guy. There's going to be so many people, even on your own team, doubting you. I mean, if only we knew what everybody said about each other, like nobody would have friends. But that's how it goes. Is you have to be ready for adversity, because adversity is going to strike. You don't know when. It could strike anytime. And I think for me, going through that each year, it's no like nobody's going to come save you. Like, you got to get through that. You have to be, it doesn't matter where you're at, what position, anything. It could be football or it could be life. I think for me, it was kind of having that. I just wanted to instill and leave a legacy of just a guy that was a good person, was a good teammate, and at the end of the day was had his faith in Christ and had his identity in Christ and understood like there's more than just football. Like, this football could end. It could end 3 months from now. I could already played my last game. I don't know how this journey is going to go, but I'm just grateful for it. I'm grateful for the amazing people. I'm grateful for every, place I was able to play at, every person I was able to meet, every adversity I was able to go through. The accolades, man, that's awesome. But I don't really care about that anymore because my perspective changed. I'm just grateful for every opportunity and playing the game I loved. And at the end of the day, making my younger self proud, because he would be proud. He would be like, man, you did it. And then instilling that same vision to my younger brother and understanding like, man, I want you to be better than me. I want you to outbeat me. I want you to just succeed more, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's just picking up people around you, making everybody around you better, and just being that guy that people truly, at the end of the day, are like, man, he's a good guy. And I think for me, it was more than just the touchdowns and passing yards and rushing yards and all that accolades and All-American and Heisman. It was just, I got to that perspective where it's like, I'm just happy to be here, because shoot, 7 years ago, didn't think I'd be here. I can tell you that. Not preparing for a pro day or the NFL draft or wherever I may end up. So that's for sure.
Well, and I mean, you said it well there. I mean, if your goal isn't to make the future brighter with just helping out one person or someone that remembers what you've done or been able to do off the field or in a relationship, if you look back at all these years in your different stops, who was an important figure at each one for yourself besides your parents to help you understand where you are is where you're supposed to be?
Yeah, I would say for sure. Pastor Mark at Lindenwood was huge the last 2 years. I mean, what he did and what he's done for that team and that university, people will never understand. And you talk about people that, man, they want to be in the spotlight and all that stuff. He doesn't. He wants to be, he holds his church service every Wednesday and he's up there preaching, but he doesn't want anybody to know what he's doing on Monday nights. I mean, he's having Bible study with our whole half of our football team. We're trying to get more and more. We call it the foxhole, but for the last 2 years, that guy was incredible and got me closer in my faith and my relationship with Christ and finding myself more than just a football player. And then at McNeese, I mean, a ton of teammates that are able to go through those trials and tribulations with you that people don't get to see. And then obviously when I go to Iowa State, I mean, there's so many great guys there that most of them are now at Penn State, but just amazing dudes. And then, to Iowa Western, I mean, Strohmeyer and that whole entire staff. I mean, I got to the point where I didn't even want to leave Iowa Western because I was like, these guys, these are my family, Coach Landon Marshall over there, the GOAT right there. But no, there's just, I mean, it all started though in that household with my parents and them instilling that into me. And then just that opportunity that Coach Huffman and Pekorski at Bell West and all those guys gave me, and, the Duckers and the Johnsons and everybody that I'm forgetting, it's like that's stuff that you'll never forget because it's going to come the time when those cleats are done, but those relationships last a lifetime, man. And I think that's the most important thing about it is that is what matters. Those relationships and that brotherhood and that friendship and so many people that helped you along the way to get to where you wanted to go. I think that's just, it's hard. You ask that question. I can't name one because, man, you've been to so many different places that every place you went, and I'm forgetting probably so many that I feel terrible for, but it's like, man, there's so many people that impact your life in such a great way. And it's truly such a blessing when you're able to look back on that and you're sitting here, in Nashville preparing for a combine where you don't know if you'll get any opportunities, but man, like even having the opportunity to be here and live out that dream of, getting ready for NFL draft and having your own pro day and getting ready for the combine, like there's so many dang people that you can thank. And I think, John 13:7, like Jesus told Peter, you don't know now what I'm doing, but later you will understand. And I'm thinking later I'm starting to understand. And I really am, because that's something that I look back on those days of Millard West and being such a happy kid. And then, you get a little bit of adversity and it's like, you can either quit or you can just say, you know what, bring it on. Like, let's do this. Let them doubt and let's keep on pushing.
Well, and of course, you brought up a great thing also with your pro day. You're preparing down in Nashville. That way you can run with Missouri. When you look at all of the coaching that you've had, and you look at even all the way back to Warren with the quarterback position, how has that prepared you for what you're already seeing that you're going through? Is there a lot of similarities? Is there some things that that they're kind of teaching you there that's helping your game a little bit? Kind of where's kind of the comparison? So then people realize, because when we say that Warren Academy is training people for whatever level you want to get to, please understand that there's no guarantee that they're
Yeah.
going to get you a D1 this or NFL that. None of that's guaranteed, but what they are doing is giving you things to prepare you if you put forth the effort. What's some of the things that you've been able to see that are
Yeah.
what you grew up with and where you're at now?
Yeah, I think like Coach Teagling, like that's my guy. And I think every single time that we train and it's Jet or Danny or Zane or me or all these quarterbacks, obviously Warren's son, all these quarterbacks are coming in, like the parents might not understand, like they're gonna get you to where you want to go, but you have to put in the work. They can give you everything. You can lead the horse to water, but you gotta drink the water. Like you have to go to work. And that's what John and Steve gave me the opportunity these last couple of years of just letting me be me, and then just giving the opportunity, and then just seeing going to different schools, working with different quarterback coaches and all that thing. It really is all the same, and it's kind of like it on a world of its own, where there is going to be those same drills, there's going to be those same talking points, the mechanics points. At the end of the day, though, you got to play the game. They can teach you everything you need to know, and they can give you the tests, and you can have all the answers. But man, when you're out on that field and the bullets are flying, like your instincts have to lock in, and you have to play. That's why you see all those big time prospects, the 5 stars, all these things that don't pan out the way people think. It's because, like, at the end of the day, you can have all that, but you have to use it. You have to do it. And I think seeing what Warren did for me and helped me, and how I'm able to go back and give to the community and help the younger generation. We have our own QB camps there at Bellevue West, being at my old alma mater. And I'm telling these kids, like, yeah, like I won a state championship here back in 2020. Like that's nuts to even say that I'm even able to sit up in front of all you guys and you want to hear me talk. And you get back to that perspective of like, I could have just been done with football back in 18, 19. And then here I am 6 years later, able to help and learn and pay forward all of that.
It's the future, what you learned. And
Exactly.
what I love about it, Nate, and I appreciate your time. I really do, because
No, thank you.
it just speaks volumes to everything that we always try to do here on Wired Axcess, on everything, why we share what we share when we share athletes, because there's so much more behind doors for the hard part that not everybody wants to talk about. But when you bring it to the fourth side and you're able to share it with others so they can see it, they should hopefully get from this. They're not alone in that process. They're not the only ones that have experienced that, even though in the darkest of your times, you could feel that. And it's also that same point. You have two loving parents that love you to the fullest. It's not the parents in the household either, as far as a negative, it's a positive. They allowed him to go find his journey. And I say that with all grace, because everybody thinks that the parents have everything. His dad played in college. No, but he saw someone believe in his son. And I think those things as a parent is all that you want, is for people to realize what your son is capable of, what their opportunity is. But I could tell you from a personal experience as a former coach, and what I've seen coaches do to kids, because it happened to my very own son, and I'll say it loud and proud. They let the system down over one mistake. You can't do that as a coach. You can't let one mistake ruin a kid's life. And that's the problem with sometimes of these coaches, is they'll let one mistake of a kid ruin the rest of their experience. And hence, here's a story of where it turns into a positive to someone going to find his own journey then. If you didn't believe in him, you didn't show him confidence. But not all stories have these. So I appreciate that, Nate. When we look at your pro day and your stuff coming up, what should the NFL scouts know? And I say this because I have had Will Kyle's dad tell me not once, but twice, that his interviews with us gave him that platform where agents and NBA recruiters loved what he was able to put on show. Why? Because it's all legit. It's not this backdoor question where I'm like, let me set you up. You already know all the questions. No, this is all him telling you who he's been this whole thing. And it doesn't change on this last one. What should NFL scouts look for here in the future? We'll get you out on that.
No, yeah. Like I said, appreciate you having me, appreciate your time. I mean, obviously there's a lot of those little things that I like to leave out for other people's sake. But the journey truly has been unreal. I think the best thing for me was being told I'm not a quarterback. I feel like it's worked out pretty good so far. But for scouts, I mean, it's just at the end of the day, I just love ball. You know, I'm a team guy, loves his team first. I mean, a guy to go to 4 different programs to get named a team captain in the first year. I mean, you don't see that very much. And I think for me, at the end of the day, I'm just grateful to even be here, grateful to even be in this position. The Lord has blessed me beyond measure, truly. I mean, with the amount of relationships and connections and people that I've met and the amount of experiences that I've gotten to go through because of a pigskin, you know, the game of football. It's truly remarkable. I can't thank enough people as well. I think at the end of the day, my story, in a sense, speaks for itself. You know, there's so many kids out there that have so much self-doubt in themselves and then the people around them doubting them, but they're so talented and it's in there somewhere. I think you have to just get to that place where you truly do believe in yourself and it's right there for the taking. And that's all it took for me, was just for me to believe in myself, somebody give me the opportunity because they believed in me, and the rest is history. And I think for me, scouts understand that I'll go through adversity. I'll die on the field for my teammates. I'll go and do everything I need to do to be the best possible person and player I am for your team or whatever that may be. But at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful for your time, so grateful for being able to do this. I mean, if you would have told me 7 years ago I'd be on a podcast telling my crazy story, I wouldn't believe you for sure. But I think that's what makes it so great, is just it's all God's timing, and it's a testament to the man above, because it's something that I can only dream of. This is only something I could dream of being in Nashville training, you know, for the next 8 weeks and then getting ready for a pro day at, you know, SEC school like Missouri. So truly just honored and fortunate. And I mean, that's something that I'll never take for granted, and be able to tell my kids or grandkids, you know, hopefully one day. And I think that's what makes this so sweet, is there's so many people out there that are going through or have gone through what I've gone through, and maybe they've given up. But for all those guys that haven't, like, it's all right there, and you got this. So you just got to put your head down and work. You got to let people doubt, because there's always going to be doubters. But man, the proof's in the pudding. Like, you put your head down, you work, you have a good attitude, you control your attitude, your effort, your energy, you're going to like where you're at.
Well, I greatly appreciate your time. I greatly appreciate your story. It is a true former Nebraska prep story that people need to hear, because they think just because you're from Nebraska, you got no opportunity. The opportunity is something you go live, you go get. Once again, remember to like, follow, share. We can't do what we do without you guys. We greatly appreciate this being a part of the series on CarrikerChronicles.com. Go check it out. We're under the podcast up at the top, at the bottom. Also, our Streamyard is brought to you by the Omaha Beef. Just remember, Nate, if things don't work out, I do have a connection with the Omaha Beef. They're still on they're now starting year 27. We start here in March. Get those tickets at beeffootball.com. And always check us out on Thursdays, Primetime Beef Huddle. Until next time, we appreciate you. Thanks again, Nate.
The standard is the standard. We set the standard.
Straight killed that. I appreciate